All right. Gonna give everybody a few minutes to pop in. Hello, all. Oh, I forgot to put my earbuds in. I seem to always do that. Oh, hello. I actually had it on a different screen, so I didn't see your comments. I thought you guys were all just sitting there quietly. Hey, guys. I love that my email tells me that I'm live. Oh, thanks for telling me. I wouldn't have known. How are you guys? I just got home. Been gone all day. But part of that was my son's fault. Yeah, I'm talking about you. And y'all can hear me okay, right? Okay, can you guys hear me? I just want to make sure. I've got the worst song stuck in my head. If I start humming it and you guys recognize it, that's when you'll get to see me blush. It's terrible. Well, it's not terrible, but you know. Okay. Okay, cool. Very cool. All right, so I have a couple of things. Okay, first thing I'm going to do actually is I'm going to give a plug for my new Rocket book. Have you guys seen these? Hey, Robert. Robert Wallace. um, yeah, so these Rocket books are really cool. You use a friction pen to write in them. And I'll show you. Let me find a blank page, actually. Okay. Okay, so it's, there you go. It's just like a notebook, except that on the very bottom, okay, I don't know if we're, okay, it's really light, so you can't see it, but on the bottom, there are these, of each page, there are these symbols, and the symbols correlate to these symbols that are in the front cover, okay? I wasn't going to do this, but they're so cool. So you have an app, and what you do is you take your notes on your page, and then you mark the little symbol on the bottom that corresponds with the symbol in the front cover. And in your app, you have assigned each symbol to a place. So when I use the app to, take the picture and it has a little thingy, it will send it to the destination for the symbol that I chose. Does that make sense? Okay, so like let's say the bell. The bell goes to my email. So if I write some notes and then on the bottom of the page, I mark the bell, then I will take a picture with the app and it uploads straight to my email. Isn't that cool? And I think there's 7 or 8 locations. And so you just upload to the location, or you can upload to multiple locations. So I could upload it to, OneNote, for example, and my email. I mean, I'm in hog heaven. So I got it as a gift last week. Um, and it is so cool. It is so cool. And with this little friction pen, you can erase with this, but there are also these rags that come with them, that you get the rag wet and you can wipe off the whole page. So it's reusable. You just keep using them over and over. So anyway, I have wanted one for a little while and I didn't get one. And then last week at my event, um, that's what my boss got our whole team. And so I was like, yes, the team had no idea. I was like, oh no, this is so cool, guys. And I'm loving it. So there's my little plug for the Rocket Book. There's different kinds. Like this one has uh, like a weekly planner in it too, and a task thing and stuff like that in there too. But a lot of them are just plain note pages. All right. So anyway, that's that, because that was very important to cover my Rocket Book. But actually, I just put my Rocket Book away and I forgot I have my notes in here. So, okay, a couple of things to talk about. I kind of have to talk about the impeachment because, I mean, it's kind of the thing to do right now, right? It's, it's funny because I have a class that I lead every Thursday, and I tutor some kids in 7 different subjects or topics, and for 6 hours. And so one of those this year, we're doing the uh, American documents, right? So we're looking at the original documents, the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, the I don't know, the poem Pocahontas. I mean, just some of these original documents that go along with our history and stuff. And one of their assignments was to memorize and recite the outline to the Constitution with all of the amendments, right? So it's not memorizing the whole thing, it's just memorizing the outline. And so we were talking about that. Why are we asking them to do this? Why do we want them to memorize the outline to the Constitution? And they had some ideas and stuff, but really, it all comes down to the fact that if you don't know what our country was founded upon, if you don't know how we were built, if you don't know what rights we as a people, as a nation, and as individuals have, then anything can happen and you won't say anything about it, right? And so I was using the impeachment as an example. I said, look, put the politics aside of whether you think Trump should be impeached or not. For this, I don't care. Okay. But if you however, you should care if it's being done correctly. So if we're going to impeach a president or have an impeachment inquiry or however you want to call it, whatever you want to, whatever word spin you want to use on it, um, then you know, do you know what's supposed to happen, right? Do you understand that the president has certain rights as well? Um, do you understand that, Bill? Um, do you understand um, what is supposed to happen, what's okay in the process? Because that's important. It's important that if you're going to do this thing, and again, whether you think he should be impeached or not, that's kind of beside the point. If you're going to take those steps, are you doing them legally? Are you doing them by the rules? Are you doing them by the standards that we have set? Right. And so that was one, I mean, just, you know, one of the points that we were talking about as far as them understanding what is in the Constitution. You don't have to, memorize the whole thing, but if you memorize the outline to it, then you understand what is covered and you can go back and you say, I know that my Constitution says something about that, right? Hey, Bill, your mama D, and Robert, double Robert. Um, so anyway, that was a side note. But so in talking about the impeachment, just touching on it because it's kind of what we have to talk about with everything that's happening. Um, I'd love to hear from liberals who support this, from leftists or anybody who supports it, honestly. Um, why is it okay? Why is it okay that things are being done the way that they are being done? Again, let's put aside whether I think there's reason to impeach Trump or not, whether you think there's reason to impeach him or not. We're not even to that step. However, I just want to know how it is that you are okay with the way things are being done. What makes it okay for things to be done in secret? What makes it okay for it not to be brought for a vote before the House? So I'm open to that. I mean, I don't think anybody that's currently on here will question that, but I just would love to know why it's okay. And there's a lot of things that people are saying as far as why they think um, that Pelosi and Schiff, and all the wonderful little buddies of there are doing. You do that, Bill. So why they're doing it this way? Why a no vote? Um, sorry, I'm yanking my earbuds out. So there's a lot of people who are talking about that, and I think it comes down really to one thing. I think it's because yes, they know that they don't have the support for the actual vote, but I think that they are still using this very strategically because they are wanting to um, influence the election. So if we do all of these things in secret, if we don't do a vote, if we are just doing it this way, we still have the ability to write the narrative. And for the mass of people who are only paying attention to the sound bites that come across the mainstream media or whatever, hearing that sound bite of Schiff kind of making up the transcript for the call, hearing just the bits that they are releasing from these ultra secret um, depositions and all that, interviews that they're doing of these witnesses, right? And then they come out and they leak just the pieces that they want to, right? Well, so whether this whether anything comes about this, about from this, from the actual, like, if he actually gets impeached, I think that they are working toward trying to influence the 2020 election. I mean, just the fact that they are saying impeachment, well, to some people and people who aren't paying attention, just having the word impeachment out there and in the news cycle and, oh, months and months and months, well, people who aren't paying attention may look at that and go, oh, must be pretty serious. If we're talking impeachment, boy, Trump must have done something really bad, right? No, there's absolutely no flippin' proof out there. Excuse me. You know, there's they haven't come out and actually proven anything. Um, so I think that's it. I don't think that they're actually, I mean, I think they probably have this idea of, oh, great, if it works and we can impeach him, great. But I don't think that that's what they're actually going for. I think that they're actually going for, let's just damage him in the public eye. And then when they go to the polls next year, they'll vote him out because they think he's the big bad wolf. So that's my opinion on why they're doing all this anyway. Okay. And we can keep talking about that too. But I was also going to talk about standards and changing standards. So I've had a couple of conversations with some people. Oh, ladies, hold on. Oh, see, I stopped myself. I'm sorry. Hopefully, I didn't get either of you too. um, so, um, standards. Okay, I've had a couple of conversations with some people, really, I mean, over the last couple of years, honestly. And it comes down to something I have noticed. Um, let's see here. Okay, something I have noticed um, happening more, and it's about parenting. Um, we have gone from a place where we are teaching our kids how to adapt and teaching our kids how to cope and teaching them how to sometimes just suck it up, put your big girl panties on. Um, and we've come to this place where instead of addressing our child and helping our child cope with the things that are happening around them, so many times we are expecting everybody and everything around them to create the environment that will make our child happy, that will not make our child uncomfortable. Um, and it's really weird. I've seen it in different circumstances and environments, um, and it's very interesting. We have a whole lot of food situations now. Food allergies, food not so much allergies, but just heavy preferences. Um, I don't want my kid having sugar because I don't like them to have sugar for whatever reason. And therefore, I don't want everyone else's kids around my kid to have sugar because that will make my kid uncomfortable. Things like that. No, no, I was specifically talking to the ladies though, Robert, because of the fact that when I yawn, it affects them. At, at least we have shared this situation in the past, so that's why I was addressing them. I wasn't calling you guys ladies too. Um, but if you want to put your big girl panties on, then by all means, that's really something I don't need to know about. Um, anyway, um, so anyway, it's this place that we've come to in our society, and it comes back to that idea of a lack of. Oh, I'm so glad I could bring out the feminine side of you guys. um, but it also wraps around to this lack of personal responsibility. Um, it's not my responsibility to adjust myself to fit the environment, but it's everyone else's responsibility to adjust the environment to fit me. So, anyway, it's a frustration I have. The whole personal responsibility thing is a big frustration of mine anyway, but um, just what I have been noticing over the last couple of years with with parenting, that we are actually parenting that way, and kind of expecting everyone else to, I don't know, walk on eggshells around us. um okay, maybe when I'm hormonal you should walk on eggshells. I should not have to. I should not have to adjust myself and learn to cope. Sorry. Mahu, what is that? We call it being mahu. Is that like being, I don't want to say wimpy, but is that like being demanding? Being, oh, girly man. Okay. I just learned something new. I have to write that down. I might have to use that later. Mahu. Am I saying that right? Mahu or Mehu? I'm not sure. Okay, um, so with this comes we come back to this idea of gender roles and feminism and equality. Um, so, what is equality? And in various roles, um, I mean, I can think of things like, you know, combat positions in the military, um, even things like the SEALs and elite teams in the military, firefighters, police officers, um, those kinds of things. What does it mean? What does the equality piece mean in those regards? Go. What do you guys think? And we should really try to do another call in. Just saying. See if Bill and Robert still have issues. I don't know. Maybe Robert Wallace will be able to um, call in without issues. I'll put in there in case you guys want to. If you don't want to, no worries. But in case y'all want to try, we'll try it. You don't think we'll have liberals jump on and say, oh, um, okay, so Robert Wallace, in regard to, because we're talking about equality, okay, and in regard to things like, you know, firefighting and and like combat positions in the military, police officers, that kind of thing. Where does feminism and equality play into that? Mhm. You have issues. My class kids tell me that all the time when I ask them if they had any issues with anything in math this week. They're like, "Oh yeah, I got issues. I had trouble doing it. Or I'm behind or whatever." Okay. Any thoughts on that? Bill, I know you have thoughts. You can't help but have thoughts. Okay, so Robert, you should try to do the stream yard thing and see if we can make it work, because Bill and Robert and I had issues the other night, but maybe you wouldn't have issues. I don't know. I think it was just a momentary thing. Okay, so while you guys are thinking about that, and while you are maybe putting stuff in chat, I'm actually going to pause for a second just to give you all time, and I'm going to read something. It's from a book called Humility by Andrew Murray. Chillin'. Chillin'. I hope that everything went well with your wife's travels and that she's home safe and sound. Roberto. Your wife's travels. Okay. And that she's home safe and sound. Okay. Roberto. I'm hearing myself.
Oh, holy crap.
You're
I'm here.
You are, but I'm hearing myself, and this is a problem. I don't know why. When I
Holy crap. I'm here.
go to YouTube, you are. Do this. Oh, hold on. No, that's the wrong thing. Huh. Okay, I have to figure out how to get this to work. Robert. Okay, so I'm not hearing myself now.
You can hear me though, right?
I can hear you.
Now
Yes.
you can hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I had to turn the mute off on the computer. Sorry. We're okay now.
Okay, wait. What did you do? Because you fixed the problem that we were having the other night.
Because I have two devices. I'm on my computer watching the chat and everything, and then I'm on my cell phone with the call.
Okay, but Bill said he wasn't doing that. Were you doing that the other night, Bill? I'm looking at your name in the chat like I should be looking at you this way. Were you doing that the other night, Bill? Okay, so Roberto. Okay, we're gonna go with that. What do you think? What do you think about how does feminism and equality play into roles like, firefighting and military, roles where, combat is involved in military, police officers, that kind of thing?
Okay, let me turn that stupid sound off. As far as military goes and law enforcement, I think it should be the same requirement across the board. It shouldn't differ from man to woman.
Okay.
because it's a safety issue that falls into you have to possibly carry another human being, lift
Mhm.
heavy weights, um, a lot more physical activity, I would think. And so I would say the physical activity needs to be equal. This has to be able to be done by a human being. This doesn't. And if a man can do it, a man can't do it. He either is or isn't going to fill that position. If a woman can or can't, they're going to fill that position. Now,
Right.
because statistically men are more physically capable of doing a job, I can relate it to construction. Men are more physically able to work construction than women. I'm not saying women can't, that they're not capable,
Mhm.
you know. Women statistically are probably better cooks than men.
Okay. Not my cooking. Just
No, but some.
saying.
You know what I mean? I mean, if you
Right.
took 1,000 females and 1,000 males, more of those females are going to be not domesticated, do less physical required activities
Domesticated.
in society.
Yeah.
So that's kind of just what I think, and that's kind of where I think it should be left. And I think pay, I think there should be no difference in pay. I mean, do I think, I mean, but I'm not also not running a corporation to where the bottom line is, do women actually truly need more days off than men? I don't know. I'm going to say that whole childbirth thing.
Mhm.
Yes, but how many times does that happen in a person's lifetime where they're in a career where they're actually trying to actually go farther? I mean, if you're having popping out a kid every 10 months, then that's kind of hard to work, you know,
Right.
as an employee, as an employer paying an employee.
Right.
It's hard to have that. I mean, if that person's but if that lady if that the lady that's pregnant, if she's capable of being pregnant and doing her job, well, there's no issues. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's whether. I don't know if a guy. I don't know what a guys don't get pregnant, so you can't compare the male and female when it comes to that one. So I
Hey,
don't
now,
fucking.
Robert, you're stepping on toes. You're saying that men can't
I'm
get
walking on
pregnant.
thin ice on that one, huh?
Yeah, exactly. We're learning a lot about what men are capable of.
Yeah,
So,
I
okay,
forgot about that.
right? Okay, so I totally agree with you. I think that is a problem because there have been standards that have been lowered. Um, and I think of things like the issues, right? Um, it's not about not wanting a woman to be in a certain role, um, but it's more about and here's the thing: I will fully admit that there are certain things that I do not want my daughters to do. That is on a completely personal level, and I have my reasons for that, right? But society wise, um, yeah, I think it's about can you, male or female, pull that person out of the burning building just like everybody else can, right? Um, can you, um, you know, get, if we're talking about combat, and again, I have some different feelings on that, but if you're talking about combat, can you do the same work? Can you, um, I mean, your team is counting on you. Not only your team is counting on you, but those that you are, protecting, those that you are saving, whatever, right? You have people counting on you. It's not just about you. And it to me to say, okay, but I need it to be a 50-pound ladder instead of a 100-pound ladder. I don't think that's fair. Um, I don't think that's right because You can't tell the guy that you're saving or the woman that you're saving, oh, I'm sorry, I need you to be a 50-pound woman instead of a 100-pound woman or whatever, right?
Exactly.
So, and I think, I don't think that, I was thinking about this earlier today. I don't think that the women who want these standards lowered so that they can do these roles, I don't think that they are um, saying, oh, it's okay that I put people in jeopardy. I don't think that they believe that. I also don't think that they are unaware of that argument because it has been publicized enough, it's been talked about enough that I think that they're aware of that. I honestly think that there's a piece of them that separates logical thought and reality and has this, oh, but I could do that, right? So in practice and training, I can't carry the ladder that's as heavy, or I can't, do as many push-ups or whatever it is, right? Whatever the standards are that they're lowering. Um, but when it comes to real life and the issues of saving someone in the midst of an emergency, then they feel like, then they just I think that's where they're separating reality and they're saying, oh, but we can do that. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
I almost think there's also a little bit of toddler like behavior in it where you're telling me I can't do it and I'm going to say I can. Does that make sense? Because not wanting to.
They don't want to accept their own limitations, their physical
Yeah,
limitations. I mean,
right,
at least what when you have a very valid point, it's a safety issue almost.
right.
You know, when it comes to being people's lives on the line, and especially if you're in combat.
Right. And so, and you brought up the other, right, like, okay, in the corporate world or wherever, right? So there is going to be a difference there, right? We're generally not talking about people's lives being on the line and needing to save people physically in the corporate world, right? So with something like that, I'm kind of with you in the sense of, um, yeah, sure, um, the same pay and all that. Um, but I look at it and I go, okay, if you do have a baby or two or three in your career and you have taken off those chunks of time, whatever it might be, whether it's the 6 weeks or the 6 months, um, there are men there who aren't taking that time off. And there are men there who, while you're taking that time off, and I'm not saying women shouldn't, right? But while you're taking that time off, those men are still there every day climbing that corporate ladder. And I think that's okay because you're having babies. There's nothing wrong with that. It's very good that you're having babies. It's very good that you're spending time with your babies. If you're going to have them, spend time with them. It's my thought.
Yeah, I mean, I think fathers should be able to have the same amount of time off. Whether it be, I think they should have that option.
Right.
You get, let's say you have a newborn baby, you're a new dad, right? And,
Hmm.
however amount the same maternity leave is, fathers should get paternity time or
Right.
paternity time or whatever the hell it is,
Hmm.
paternity time. And then, and then,
I'm with you. I'm with you.
the men can say, with me personally, I wouldn't take that whole solid time off. I might maybe take, let's say I'm in the office, I'm an office worker, I'd take 3 days a week off or 2 days a
Uh-huh.
week off for that same amount of period, a
Right.
flexible thing to where you could do that and not, I don't know, does it make it okay in society when we have rules like that? Psychologically, do we accept that as, okay, Joe just had a baby, okay, instead of the men having a towards men attitude of Joe's being a pussy. You know
Well,
what is it does do is a rule in place like that, or is that option going to be if we make that a standard for fathers? Does it take away that stigmatism of you're less of a man if you decide to stay home with your kids?
maybe. And I will say from a mom's perspective, when I have 3 kids, and all 3 of them, I literally leaving the hospital, even the third one. And by the third one, I knew that things were going to be okay. But even with the third one, going home from the hospital, I thought, are they seriously going to let me walk out with this kid? Like, oh my gosh, I'm taking this kid home. Are they watching this? And so my husband took, I think, 3 weeks off with 2 of the kids, and maybe 2 weeks off um with the last one or something like that. But I just remember being so grateful. I mean, the first one I had a lot of physical recovery to do. The second one, well, and the fact that I'm like, oh my gosh, they're letting me take this kid home. The second one, it was okay. I have the other kid. Now I have this kid. Oh my gosh, it's 2 again. So by the time my husband went back to work, I'm like, okay, yeah, I know how to do this. But
Yeah.
but it was nice for me to be able to have, backup, you know, in the house. So I liked that. Okay, hang on. I'm gonna catch us up on chat really quickly. Um, Robert N agrees with you that we should get maternity leave, or that men should also get maternity leave. Bill thinks that men can make a mean grilled cheese sandwich. Okay, so Dee's saying, hey, RW, depends on the woman. When I was 40 years old, I worked construction for the first time, and superintendents all told me that I worked circles around their men, which caused them to work harder. Very cool. Robert N, both men and women face the same dangers in that line of work, so they should get the same benefits. Well, see, and that's the thing, and the same standards, right? So again, if a man can't meet those standards, then he shouldn't be able to be in the role either, right? There are
Well,
standards, they're
exactly.
for a reason. It doesn't matter. So I think that's where the equality comes in. It doesn't matter if you're a man or woman. There are a set of standards, and whether the line is whether you can make those or not.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're a human being that can perform at the task or not. I mean, I've
Right.
been with people that cannot understand how to use a pick and a shovel properly for the life of them, and you're like, this guy ain't gonna make it. He needs to find something else to do in life. I'm sorry, buddy, but
Right.
there's something else out there for you.
Right. And it's not
You
about him
know?
being female. It's just simply about whether he can do the job or not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had girls work in construction that make it, and then I've had some that, can and cannot, but after a while, everybody's, it's not like you can't say, okay, what you would send a guy to go do. A
Right.
guy won't send a girl to go do what one guy would do. He'll send a girl with that guy, a guy with that girl.
Mm-hmm.
Just I think out of habit we do that. Just out of instinct, protective instinct of men for women.
Mm-hmm.
At least to me, that's the way I am.
Yeah.
When I encounter that on a job. I'm watching that girl going like, okay, is she safe? Is she going to be getting hurt?
So you
More
bring up a
awareness of
whole
that.
other issue. Does that make
But
you a
that's even in a
bad man?
combat situation that it's a distraction in a combat issue.
Okay.
Somewhat can be,
Mm-hmm.
if
Yeah.
that person allows it to. But that's only probably maybe if that person shows a weakness. But also, wouldn't a person have that with any other human being, whether male or female?
Right. I mean,
I mean, I would, but
even the buddy system, right? I mean,
yeah,
just kind
I'd
of,
be
hey,
saying something before I go into a hot zone with that person.
right,
I'd be making sure if I had any inkling or something, some bad feeling or something, some hiccup, I'd be saying, "Hey, this is what I see. Let's discuss this. Maybe there's something going on. Maybe Joe's got something going on at home."
right.
You know?
Or, hey, Joe
Right.
couldn't even pick up his cup of coffee. How is he going to drag me out of a, out
Yeah.
of, right. So, okay, let me see. Joe Mama, I've worked most of my life in factories for equal work. I never played the I'm a woman and can't do that. I could work circles around the guys most of the time. And I think, honestly, I don't know that it's about say, playing the girl card or whatever. However, you know, and factory work versus something like, you know, a SEAL team or something, right? Um, most women, not all, but most women cannot meet the same standards that are required of men to become Navy SEALs. And I don't know how it is right now, but I know a few years ago, that was part of the conversation, is that they were lowering the standards for even these elite teams. Um, and I just don't think that's right. Again, you can do it, male or female, great. If you can't, male or female, find something else, right? Um,
Yeah.
Dee said, thanks, I was proud of myself. The soups were first worried that I'd distract the men. Were you walking around in a bikini, Dee? One of two females and a couple hundred men. Um, yeah, I mean, potentially you could have. Um, but I mean, it's construction and it's not, um, I mean, it can be dangerous, but then they might just need to put their big boy panties on, right?
Yep.
um, all right. So Bill is asking, how about all the new women's world records being broken by trans females? This is where we were talking the other night about how different is we're so segmented and we don't want to offend anybody and we want to just allow everything, that at some point that intersects and we end up butting heads. So just like with the whole always packaging with the Venus, female symbol on the feminine hygiene, well, then you've got the women's rights, the feminists going, whoa, 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 wait a minute. So now you've got trans people and that specialized group, that protected group, and now they're offending the women, right, that are the feminist movement, and we're all getting offended, right? So I think that this is the same thing. um yeah, we're happy, we want to let everybody do everything and everything's okay, and we're going to completely put truth and facts off to the side, and we're going to say, oh no, I imagine myself to be a woman, I have mutilated my body to be a woman, therefore I can be in those sports and no big deal. And it's just not true. They're going to have to, it's like with baseball, how they have a before and after kind of thing. Well, records before trans females, right, and records after, I think it's going to be a split in history regarding those kinds of records, um, because it's not the same. Robert, what do you think? I'm sorry, I'm yapping a lot.
No, that's fine. I think it's comical, actually.
Yeah.
Because, I just go, what world did I wake up in today? When I hear a new record being broken, there was something
Mm-hmm.
that was broken the other day, wasn't there? There was. There was a new one yesterday.
Yeah.
I forget what it was. I just
Yep.
heard that it was. I don't even need to know what it is anymore. The first time
Right.
I did out of curiosity, you know, and then now I'm just like, now I'm just waiting for the women to get pissed off and go, wait a minute. That's the part where I'm just gonna
Well,
go. I'm
and they
just
have
gonna start
been.
laughing hysterically then.
Right. And they have been.
Because
And, what is her name? Martina Navratilova, right? The big time tennis star
okay,
from,
yeah, the Russian chick, right?
I guess so. I don't remember exactly. But,
Ukrainian or something, I think.
months ago, I think, it was in the news where she was, she's been an advocate for gay rights and all of that for a long time. And so now she came out and she said, no, it's not right for trans men, trans women. I don't know how that works when the man becomes a woman. Anyway, whatever that one is called. Um, she said it's not right for them to be entering women's sports and, making it an unfair playing field. And she got pounced on and she got booted off of one of the boards or whatever. And it's, again, these little specialized um, groups, right? Where you've got the protected homosexuals, and now, you're saying something about the transsexuals. You can't do that, right? And so now we're you know, f- kind of fighting between specialized groups. Dee says it's
Yeah, we
disgusting.
definitely are. Um, yeah, there's a lot of fighting, which
Yeah.
is it's just ridiculous. The whole thing's just stupid.
Hmm.
It's ridiculous. The whole thing. It's nonsense. It makes no sense because if it has everybody that buys into all that transgender stuff, it's everybody that buys into it and accepts it, I think for the most part they are I forgot where I was going. It was somewhere along the lines of them being brainwashed. Oh, they're being trained to live in this exact moment here and now. I'm alive. Me, a selfish
Oh, it's
type of
extremely
I
selfish.
think. I mean, I would think now that I like analyze it based upon how humans behave, that it's conditioning them to be more selfish and population control. It's another form of population control, damn near.
Well, there is a selfishness in it, a self-centeredness in it, because you're literally you're ignoring fact. You're ignoring truth. There is not an absolute truth, so there can't be an absolute female or an absolute male. Whereas medically, scientifically, there really, really is. And how can you say there's not? But if we just say that there's not, then we're living in this fantasy world where, okay, it's okay, sure. And then we all have to agree with it. But then again, we all agree with the fact that there are no standards, no absolutes. And when you do that, then eventually your no absolutes are going to run over my no absolutes. I mean, they're going to implode all over themselves. I mean, that's what's happening is that I mean, they're not realizing it yet, but they're exhibiting what is truth. You cannot have no absolutes. You cannot say that there isn't truth and that there isn't fact, and you can't say that the standards are relative, for the moment, for the situation, for the person, and have it be okay. We don't work together that way. That's why we have things like, hey, I don't know, let's not murder each other. Maybe we should not do that, right? But then again, you take all of this to the nth degree, and I could say, well, I'm not gonna murder someone. But Robert, it's okay for you too. I would never want to tell you what to do, and I wouldn't want to infringe on your rights. What the heck? I mean, it's that logical line. You have to follow the thinking logically. Um, okay, I'm sorry. I've totally ignored chat. I'll try to catch up again. D.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I almost want to throw a judgment out there, but I'm talking out my ass if I throw it out there. But I guess I can throw it out there. I'm used to talking out my ass, whatnot. Why not? Anyways, um, it's like they science is more important than God. Takes a man and a woman to create a child. Now,
Mhm.
if you take God out of the equation, in 2019, we still can make a child with a man and a woman, but
Okay.
without physical connection, without the spiritual connection.
Okay.
And that's through science by in vitro fertilization and whatnot,
Okay.
test tube babies and all that malarkey,
Okay.
which which is a great thing because people that can't have kids that want to have kids are able to, which I'm fully in support of. That
Right.
technology doesn't bother me. But I think that because I think that's still, people that try and have sex, married couples, and have, inverted fertilization, and you have a kid, there's nothing wrong with that because I think you're still within God's rule territory.
Okay.
I think when you go, okay, you don't need man or woman, I can become a girl, you can become a guy, and we can have a kid in a test tube.
Right.
That's that's where I think we've crossed the line
Okay. So,
socially.
right. So we're stepping outside of the family unit that God created, designed.
Yep.
Um, and then I guess I would also say though, um, that yes, technically, scientifically, there are methods for us to create children, right? But I still
Hmm.
think that God has to approve that. I mean, he is the ultimate creator, and so I think that we can try to go around him, but if he doesn't allow it to happen, it doesn't happen.
It's not exactly. Yeah, it's either going to work or not work if you go try and do a different route. But in the person that I know, it worked. So,
Right. Oh yeah. No.
a couple was able to have a kid and go through that experience to some degree.
Hmm. Right.
You know.
And I see what I mean, I totally agree as far as the um just that family unit. And I think we've kind of talked about this before, but it's a child is missing something if they are denied a mom or a dad. There are very different things that I bring to my kids than my husband does, you know. Now, having said that, that doesn't mean that things don't happen, right? It doesn't mean I just think we have to be careful to choose to go into that situation, right? But you know, people die, things happen, right? And so we
Yeah.
can end up in those situations. Um, frankly, then God has you where you're supposed to be. Um, and that's the deal, right? But I just don't want to choose to. Boy, Robert, you totally took us left field. Well, you and Bill, because I'm like, how did we end up here? But that's okay. Um, but you know, I think it's, I just don't. I think it kind of goes back to the selfishness a little bit, right? I want a child, um, and it doesn't matter if the child is going to have. Hey, Shaq. It doesn't matter if the child is going to have a father in its life or a mom in its life or whatever. And for me, that's me putting myself above that child. It's me saying, I want this in my life enough, but not considering that I'm denying thing for that child that I'm wanting to bring into this world. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You're like,
It does. No, it does make sense. I mean, it makes sense with with whether that it's a selfish motivation or true intentions. What are the tensions behind it? But that's all good and evil. It's all to me. It's all the same thing, kind of. I mean, they all are related.
right.
There's no end. There's no beginning. It's all tied together somehow, some way. There's
Yeah.
no coincidences. It's a cause and effect kind of a world. It's like the cause and effect theory, kind
Right.
of.
Right.
It's everything's always linked together somehow, somewhere. You trace it back, it's gonna tie in somehow. So I
Yeah.
mean,
It's funny.
it's it's kind of funny. I mean,
Yeah. No,
there's
it's
so many.
true.
The more we get together and discuss these things, the more we become aware.
Right.
The higher our awareness is. So we are seeing the world through different eyes day by day, the more we bring about these things. And therefore, we, the people, are taking back the power slowly.
Right. Well,
So
and
it's kind of, we're taking back the power just by using the platforms that we are
mhm,
to, and to discuss these things. We're talking about things that we always, at least for me, in my childhood, that it was things that we didn't talk about as a family or as a society.
mhm,
It was like the things, it's like everybody, it was almost like there was a set standard that we as Americans had when I was a child. We didn't need to discuss them. We all knew them. And
yeah.
somehow it's like those core values don't exist in America. America maybe has no core values right now, and we're having to
Right.
regain those, you know.
Well, that's true because again, core values would be based on some absolutes
What,
because we
10
don't,
commandments?
right,
Because
because
we
we
were
don't
allowed to
have,
commit. Yeah.
right. Yeah. And if we're trying to deny that those exist or that there are absolutes, um, in the chat, they're loving the fact that you're relaxing so much. um, but yeah, I mean, if we don't have absolutes, then we lose that common bond that we move forward with as a society. And I don't want to miss this because I missed some things the other night in chat that I went back and I was like, oh, I never addressed that. So Bill is saying that Martina Navratilova has since changed her position on the trans movement. That is so disappointing because she was right. She was right in what she was saying. So it's unfortunate that
Why
she.
they gotta bully everybody?
What?
All they do is bully everybody. That's all they do.
Well, that's the thing is, it has always been amazing to me that such a small portion of society can be the rudder and can steer the ship when we're talking 3 to 5, and now we're talking more like 5 to 6% of of society. So why are we
It's always
all bowing down? You
it's
know,
always been like that.
yeah, the
Think about it.
the
Think
squeaky
about. I
wheel.
mean, at least as long as I've been alive, that's a good thing you bring up. Now, I never really thought about it. I mean, the thing where my head went to when you said that was like AIDS in the 80s.
Hmm.
I mean,
Yes,
w-
yes, yes,
I
yes.
wonder I wonder what the statistics actually were on that. I mean, maybe it was only seemed like such a big thing because it was new. I mean,
Hmm.
it'd be like the plague. I mean, it was something new. It wiped out a lot of people. I mean, or influenza.
Right.
It killed a lot of people when it first hit. It was like what it wasn't. You know, uh,
Well,
it
yeah, and
was something.
I think I had mentioned this in my videos, but the whole Ryan White thing, you know, having that poster child. And again, I kind of at this point, I question a lot more than I used to, right? And so now I even question, what was the Ryan White thing? Was it manufactured in order to do you remember Ryan White from the 80s?
I if I do and I don't. I
So
mean,
it was the Ryan White story. There was a movie called The Ryan White Story, I believe. And he was this child who had gotten HIV, um, through blood transfusions. I believe what the whole point was.
okay, I
And
remember that.
yeah, and they used him um, to kind of educate people, because they talked about, well, poor Ryan White, because people at school, they didn't want to share water fountain with him. They didn't want to share a bathroom with him. They didn't want to, and they related it a lot even to like when the blacks, um, the whole segregation with blacks and stuff, right? And so,
Yeah.
and so, um, so they used him as a way to educate people and to say, hey, this is not so bad. It's not just a gay disease, because that's what everybody's going, whoa, wait a minute, this is a gay man's disease. And so they were saying, no, 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 look, this kid, has AIDS, and he ended up dying. But now with everything I know now, I just kind of wonder if that wasn't manufactured in order to further the agenda, you
Well,
know?
yeah, it was. If you look at modern times, it was the Thornburg of the '80s.
I don't know that. I don't know that reference.
Thornburg's the girl that the Swedish girl that spoke at
Mm,
the
mm.
UN.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
Greta.
Yep,
Greta
yep.
Thornburg. That's her
Okay,
first name.
okay. I was thinking
That's
like
all.
back in history. I'm like, I don't know
It's like
that.
a modern day example of Ryan White. I think it's Ryan
Yeah,
White all over again, kind of. I mean, to an
yeah,
extent. I
absolutely.
mean,
Well, emotional manipulation. Use a child, boom, you're pulling on emotions, right? Use whatever disease, use sickness, use tears, then it's emotional manipulation. Um,
mhm.
and emotional manipulation can be used very um, very effectively. Okay. Boy, see, we could just keep, I know that we could actually keep talking
We
because
could for a while.
we've done that. But let me check in. How is everyone doing? Does anyone else want to pop in?
Don't be bashful, people.
If Robert can do it, so can you.
I know.
At least we think. I mean, Bill and Robert N had some issues last time, so I'm not positive. But I love you guys. Okay, Bill, I'm totally poking at you.
You can do it.
You can do it. Um, anyway, yes, so we have just bounced all over the place, which is awesome. That's how my normal conversations go anyway.
Mine always do.
So, okay, I'm going to read this thing because I said in my title that I would put something about humility in it. So, there's this book, Humility by Andrew Murray. It's very small and it's very unassuming, and you think, oh, it's going to be so easy, but it's really so convicting. Small pages, but they pack a punch. So chapter 6 says, it is a solemn thought that our love for God is measured by our everyday relationships with others. except as its validity is proven in standing the test of daily life with our fellow men, our love for God may be found to be a delusion. It is easy to think that we humble ourselves before God, but our humility toward others is the only sufficient proof that our humility before God is real. To be genuine, humility must abide in us and become our very nature. True humility is to be made of no reputation, as Christ did. In God's presence, humility is not a posture we assume for a time when we think of Him or pray to Him, but the very spirit of our life. It will manifest itself in all our bearing toward others. A lesson of deepest importance is that the only humility that is really ours is not the kind we try to show before God in prayer, but the kind we carry with us and carry out in our ordinary conduct. The seemingly insignificant acts of daily life are the tests of eternity because they prove what spirit possesses us. It is in our most unguarded moments that we truly show who we are and what we are made of. To know a truly humble person, you must follow that one in the common course of daily life. So it's just one of my favorite parts of that book because it's true. I have to ask myself, okay, who am I when no one else is looking? Right? Who am I when no one is watching? Who am I when it's just me and my kids and they're just irritating me and I, um, so anyway, I know it's completely off track, but I love that part, so I thought I'd throw it in on this one. All right, so any other thoughts, you guys, for the evening besides the fact that Roberto is chilling?
I am. I'm hanging out with Oreo. Hey, alrighty. Yeah, that was good. What you just read.
Yeah, well,
Pertains to my life pretty lately,
yeah,
recently here. So that one's hard to do sometimes.
it is. It is.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we can tend to, like, you know, oh, we're going to pray now. Now everything stops and we become this different person and we're praying, right? But, what are we when we walk through our daily life? So,
Yeah. It's been hard working with my dad with family lately. It's been
I can
frustrating.
imagine. I can imagine. My dad and I used to say that my dad and I could spend about 5 minutes together before we wanted to kill each other. Now, and that was when I was a teenager. Now, um, we could probably I think we could spend like 2 to 4 hours together before we kind of edge toward wanting to hurt each other. And thankfully now we both kind of know how to back off a little bit, you know, to avoid any bloodshed. But it's
Yep.
it's it's tough. So I
Hmm.
I can only imagine if I worked with my dad all day long, that would be really rough. So
Some days.
yes, yes,
Some days
yes,
are some days are you never want them to end though. So
yeah. I bet. I bet. Well,
it goes
that's
both ways.
family. That's family, though,
I know.
right? Whether you work with them or not, that's family. So,
All
well,
right.
cool.
I'm
All
gonna
right.
connect back in the chat.
All right. Well, and
So
I'm
I'm,
going to jump off. I don't know if anybody else is going to be going live or not, but I I don't know. I was dressed today. I had hair done. I figured I'd do a live chat versus, being in my robe. So,
hmm
so, all right. You guys have a good one. Thanks, Roberto, for
Yep.
jumping on and chatting.
All right. I'll see ya.
All right. Bye
All
bye.
right. Bye.
All right, you guys. Oh, what'd you say? Joe Mama worked side by side with her husband for years and loved it. That's awesome. That is awesome. I cannot say that I would be as gracious. I'm not sure that that would work as well for me. Um, I could work with my sister. I could work with my sister in a heartbeat. She is one of the well, she's just the best sister in the whole world. So, that I could do. I don't know that there's anybody else I could work with day in and day out, um, and not, want to kill them from time to time. So, sounds horrible. I really do get along with people. All right, I better end this before I get in total trouble. All right, I don't know if anybody else is going on. Um, oh, Robert, so you are just in deep. Well, it sounds like it's working out, except for when you're in the fields until 8 o'clock at night. So, anyway, you guys have a good evening. Thank you for coming. Um, I always have a great time with you guys. So, talk to you later. Love you.